Hi, and welcome to the Creative Treehouse. My name is Robin Broom, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Thanks so much for joining me in the Treehouse today. Today's project is one that's near and dear to my heart. It is a split force stamping technique, and it's one that I came up with that name a couple years ago, I believe, and I'll link the previous videos on it. And it's fun because you get to make 4 cards out of basically one piece of the 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So let me show you what it's going to look like at one point. So at one point it's going to look, let me move these out of the way. It's going to look like this. And so what you're going to do is we're going to trim it slightly, and then we're going to score it. And when this is a piece of crumb cake, and we start out by just trimming it a little bit so that it'll be 10 1/4 by 7 3/4. And then we will score it at 3 7/8 on the short side and 5 1/8 on the long side. So 3 7/8 and 5 1/8. So that's just centering it. So you kind of have axes, and that's how you're going to stamp along these axes. And let's see, the stamp set, let me see if I still have the stamp set around. Yes, it was the Christmas season stamp set, and that's currently in the annual catalog. And we use several of these stamps. Great pine cones. It's 2-step stamping with the pine cones, and we'll use the pine needles here, the little berries, and the stem as well. And what else do I need to tell you? I'll go through some of the measurements. I'll also have the measurements on my blog. And so I've told you the piece of this, and then you'll also need a piece of the cherry cobbler, and that will be cut at 5 1/4 by 4, and you'll need 4 of those. I haven't cut mine yet. And then you will need the card bases. You'll need 4 of those, and they're just your basic A2 cards. So it's just the 8.5 by 11 cut in half and then scored at 4 1/4. So you've got 4 of those. And then you'll need a little bit of extra. You will need 4 pieces of the, did I say what this was? Mossy Meadow. I don't think I did. Mossy Meadow. And that, you need 4 of those for the mat on the sentiment. And these are cut at 2 1/8 by 1 3/8. You'll also need pieces of the crumb cake. And it's a little bit bigger, just scraps, so that you can make your pine cone. So you've got 1 pine cone, and there's a die that goes with that we put here, and it's up on dimensionals, and that is as well. And the sentiment was, actually, is that right? Mossy Meadow, yes. And the sentiment here, that one actually came from an older set, a holly set, and it wasn't around very long. The Joyful Holly set was that one, but other ones would fit just as well. And then this was punched out with the Label Me Fancy punch, so that kind of makes that easy. So it comes together relatively quickly, especially when you realize that you're getting to make 4 cards with that. So 4 of these and 4 of those for the sentiment, and then you also need 4 pieces for your pine cones. And I think that is it. So we can get started, and I'll show you how we sort of stamp it all and the colors and things that I used. So this is the sample, and I'm just going to set it aside, but within my site, so that I'll be able to copy it. And we'll bring in our piece that's already scored for us. And you probably can't see the score lines, and you could actually draw them in with a pencil if you wanted to, instead of scoring them. It really doesn't matter. And actually, if you decide to score, I think it's probably easier, actually there's a little something on my paper, to stamp it on the the side where the score lines are raised, because the stamps will go on top of that, whereas this here it's indented and it won't go over it as well. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. So let's get started stamping. And I think it's easiest to start with the pine cones. And so I had mentioned it's two-step stamping. So you've got the bigger one, and then you've kind of got the darker one here. So we're going to use Crumb Cake for this one and Early Espresso for this one. I personally find it easier to start with the Early Espresso one and to go from there. It kind of probably depends on the actual stamp and probably your personal preference as well. So what I did, just I made two this way, and again, you can make your own whatever way you would like, and you're just going to go up and down the axes. And so I'm just making this be the same in all four quadrants, if you will. And they can overlap just a wee bit. Make sure I've got enough ink going there. Probably put these pine cones a little closer together than I did the sample that I showed you. I'm going to move to the Crumb Cake. Now the Crumb Cake is going to go, I just kind of line it up, kind of look and see where it's going to fit in there and stamp it. So, and it's really cool to see how the two-step stamping just really brings things to life. It's really cool. Okay, and being photopolymer, it's easy to kind of look and line up. Wouldn't be able to do that with the cling stamps. So we're about to have all of our big pine cones in place, and we're going to move to the little ones, smaller pine cones. All right, now we're going to move to the smaller pine cones, and then we're going to fill in after that with the greenery. So I've got the two smaller ones. We'll do the exact same thing. We'll take the one that's going to be the darker one, and we're going to make a pine cone here and one about there. That one came out a lot nicer, didn't it? You got to use these, was it yesterday or the day, but 2 days ago we used these in a class where we got to do Christmas card workshop, and we broke it up with lunch in between, had some yummy soups. So some of the fun things that we get to do in the Treehouse. It's a fan fave. So I don't remember how many years we've been doing that. And then you get to walk away with 8 Christmas cards done, and 4 of those were done this way. Just a great thing. All right, so I think we've gotten all of the small ones done, and I've already done the little ones that are die cut out to save on some time. Okay, so we can put the brown colors away for now. Oh, except for we'll need the Early Espresso again in just a moment. All right, so now we can move to the greenery, like I said, and let's see if I can. We'll need our. I used 2 colors. I used Old Olive and Granny Apple Green, believe it or not, kind of giving you a little bit of a feel for depth, I suppose. And we just need this one little stamp here. I'm going to begin with the Old Olive and just kind of move along the axes. I hope I'm saying that right. If not, forgive me. And you can do it however you would like, whatever works for your brain. And I think in the center, what I like to do is just sort of fill it all in with color. So it's the center now, but it will be the edge of the card, and you can stamp right on top of the score lines. So, like so. We'll go back with some of the Granny Apple Green as well. And again, just kind of going right along the score lines. I had somebody say that they, instead of just really agonizing over each one, just to kind of have fun and just stamp away. And I think that's a great way to do it. All right, we're gonna put a couple here, and we're gonna fill in back in there as well. All right, whatever you do to the one side, don't forget to do to the other side. Doesn't mean it absolutely has to be, but all right, let's see. I think I like that. I'm going to do another dark one in here, and then I'm going to trade out, and let's go to the Granny Apple Green. Hope I didn't do, I just said do the same thing, and I didn't add these. Let me add some more here. And then after we get our berries in, we can go back and fill in a little bit more. All right, I'm going to move to the Granny Apple Green. And just adds a different brightness to it. Let's see. All right. And I will probably fast forward through some of this. Let's do another one right here. I think that one's good. Do we have enough? And we need a little bit more in here as well. And I'm just going to try to fill in the holes, fill in the crumb cake ones. That looks pretty good. I might need to do one right in there. Let's see. See any other places where there might be a hole? All right, let's get to the, I don't care for, oh, I like that better. Okay, let's get to the berries and find the berries and the stem. I find it easiest to do the stem first. So we'll go back and grab our early espresso, and we'll add some berries to this. Okay, let's see how we want them to go. And the only tip I really have on this is I would try to make, you don't really want to see the end of your stem, and so you can do it either direction. So you want your stem to be close to, that looks good, to the score line. Okay, we'll get some more berries on this end. Then that'll be all of our berries. We're done, should be done with the early espresso. We'll move to our red. If I can figure out oh, there it is. The cherry cobbler. And now we'll do our berries. And it takes just a little bit to kind of figure out how to line up those berries, but once you have it figured out, you're good to go. And like I said, I prefer to do the stems and then add the berries to that. And you can always add more, if you've got your Stampin' Right markers, you can add more stem if your stem didn't go exactly the way you wanted it to. So then you just pop in all the berries. And then, woo, we're almost done after the berries. And I just love the way this turns out. So split for stamping. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. It's different than the One Sheet Wonder. The One Sheet Wonder, you're cutting various sizes and things, and here it's just 4 pieces. All right. Let's see if we need to add a little more. I think we will. Let's go back and add just a little more of the greenery. I'm going to select the old olive and kind of grab right in here to make a few more. Ah, good, I like that. Do you hear the panting of a dog? Yes, he was very much wanting to come up and be a part of this. All right, now I'm going to bring back the crumb cake, if I can find my crumb cake ink. Let's see if we're still, I think I'm having difficulty with my technical difficulty here. It doesn't appear to be working. I hope it is. All right, we're going to just add a few dots, and this stamp set, there are lots of Stampin' Up! Sets that have the dots. This one is not the same. It's not a photopolymer, but okay, it says we're still recording, although my screen went blank, so we'll just pretend it is. Hope it is. All right. Got a couple of those in there. I think that looks great. Gonna close up our crumb cake. And now the next thing we need to do is we just need to cut it. So we'll get our paper trimmer. We'll cut it, line it up, and just cut it on our score lines there. And that looks good. And then you will very quickly have 2, 3, 4 cards. Now the only thing we need to do is add our, I'm going to do it upside down so that I can see it better. All right. Okay. So now we've got that. And what we need to do is, actually you can kind of look and see where you would like the sentiments to be. Would you like one of the cards to possibly be portrait instead of landscape? That is definitely a possibility. Which one? I think I would like that one portrait and those two to be landscape. All right, and once you figured that out, you can add your sentiments, and let me tell you what I did with those. Give you some tips on that. I've already punched out 3 of them, and I left one for us to do together. So you've got this, and just because I want to share a tip when you're using the punches, if you're new to the punches, you might not realize that you basically operate it upside down. And if you've got a small piece of paper and it's kind of difficult to get in there, you can use a Post-it note, a sticky note, and stick it in and let it be guide as a handle. So, and then that way you've got more room to wiggle it around, and the Post-it note will come right off when you're done. So there you have it, and a lot of times you can reuse it. So that's that, and we will adhere ours onto it. And this was, I was just going to use the liquid glue for this part, then we'll use the dimensionals to put the mat on. So the whole thing, once it's together, we'll use dimensionals. So you've got that, and I think I am missing one of my backs, the mats. So we'll just use the one extra that we have, or the 3 that we have, and we're missing one. Okay, and then once you've decided your placement, which way you want it, and you can make them all be the same, it doesn't matter. So then you will decide how you want it to be. Well, now that I'm looking at the dots, I may change my mind. I think I may use that one this way, and possibly this one. Ah, yes, I like that one that way. And this one will be that way once we get the backing on it. And we will put those up with dimensionals. Just pops that up, and we'll pop up our pine cones as well. So I'm going to use 4 for each one. All right. And like so. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and do one of the pine cones. And you can put the pine cone pretty much anywhere you want to, wherever it happens to fit, which I think right there typically is the best for that. Oh, and I also just remembered another thing that we need to do, which would be helpful if I did it before we put the little pine cone on. So let me put this one on, and then it's adding the Stella, because that just makes a nice difference, I think. Right, so you got your Stella, and I'm going to use it on the pine cones and just kind of follow the almost crisscrossy lines. And it really just adds just that perfect little touch, almost like, I don't know, sap or something from the pine. And that we had somebody at the workshop that was just tickled to death with the pine cones and the Stella, how much that really just added to it. I think it makes it extra special, even better as a Christmas card, I think. So anyway, so that's the Stella, and I am almost out of Stella. They were enjoying the Stella. All right, so that is it. Basically, we'll put another one of those pine cones on, and then I think you can get the gist of it. So it'll be like that, and then we will also use our all right, I'm going to move these two out of the way, and I'll just show you with these two that I just glued these with the liquid glue onto our cherry cobbler as our mats. Okay, do that, and then you can use your imagination on the other two. Oh, that one didn't get cut all the way. Let's see, I picked the wrong one. Here it is. All right, and then these go onto our Mossy Meadow bases. Let me grab my bone folder, and we are almost there. Okay. And I really like these cards, and I hope you do too. I hope that if you've not been exposed to the split force stamping, that you'll be excited about this and want to try it. It works for many, many things. This is probably actually maybe the first time that I've actually gotten to use it on Christmas cards. So okay, so there you go. Oops, I almost did it backwards. So now you've got one that's portrait and one that is landscape, and then on the inside I am just going to use another piece of crumb cake, and it would be cut at 5 by 3 3/4, and we could probably put another pine cone there or whatever, or maybe a large sentiment for in the middle. So, but that is it. That is the project. I really hope that you've enjoyed it and that you'll give it a try. I also hope that you've subscribed to my YouTube channel. If not, go ahead and press that subscribe button, and you'll get to see some cool projects that I do, usually about probably once every other week or something. I'll have a new project. Sometimes they're cards, sometimes they're other paper crafting things, boxes, and all sorts of things. So thanks again for joining me today in the Creative Treehouse, and I hope you have a great creative day. Thanks. See you later. Bye-bye.